So we all know my mantra, sewing patterns are expensive and they should work hard for us. I have done a couple of videos in this theme already, and today I'm going to be featuring the McCall's 7974. Now I've done a lot of videos around this pattern. I've done a sew along for it, I've done a review on it, I have done a why are sewing companies lying to us an envelope comparison video about it, where I've made the size that the envelope tells me I should and made the size that I think I should, and the difference between the two, and why are there no finished garment measurements on the back of envelopes. It is getting better, and they are on the websites. Not quite as many as we need, but it is getting better. Today I wanted to show you how changing up the fabric that you use and putting on different sleeves or using different design elements from the pattern can give you wildly different looks that you can wear all year round. So the first one is the Hope and Ivy inspired embroidered dress that I made from Viscose twill with a Viscose twill bodice lining and a Viscose Americaine skirt lining. Now again, this dress is an unlined dress and I have fully lined it. It's all in the sew along, and I'll link it up here and in the description down below. This is also the dress that I decided to add flutter sleeves to for a different look. I really love flutter sleeves. I love bishop sleeves. I do like the little tie sleeves on this one as well because they've got a little bit of poof and they have got some room in them. Or sleeveless. They are my definite preferences when it comes to sleeves on dresses. I just thought with the kind of nature of the dress that I was going for with this white one, I thought flutter sleeves would be the way to go, and I am over the moon with how it's turned out. I really liked it without the embroidery on, but I really love it with these embroidery motifs sewn onto the waistband, midriff section. There's only a midriff section at the front, there's none at the back, but I love how it looks. So I have been eyeing up these Hope and Ivy dresses for a very, very long time, and I actually do have floral motifs that match the leaf pattern but do have little white flowers with yellow dots or yellow centers on them, and I was going to put those up the bodice and down onto the skirt, and I'm not ruling out doing that, but when I had finished sewing on these leaves to the midriff, I decided to leave it like this for now. One, because it took a long time. I did it in an afternoon or an evening, hanging out with the Patreon peeps on the weekly Zoom call. They were very easy to sew in. I just had to unpick the lining from the waistband so that none of the stitches would be shown on the inside. I really love how this has turned out. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. As I say, I'm not ruling out putting the extra floral ones on at some point in the future, but for now I love this dress, and I do think that the flutter sleeves make it look very, very different from the other ones. I mean, it's obviously the same kind of style, fit and flare, button up, but I do think that this gives it another look. So much so that I was wearing this dress in a video, and I linked to the pattern in the description because I always put in the description of every video what I'm wearing and links to the patterns and fabrics when available. Somebody said, oh, you said you're wearing this pattern but it's not, which one is it? And it's like, no, it really is the 7974. I've just raised the neckline up a little bit and added flutter sleeves to this one. There is a tutorial for the flutter sleeves which I will link up here and also in the description down below. It's a really easy hack to a sleeve to give you a different look, especially if you like a flutter sleeve. So I am over the moon with how this one has come out. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I'm not ruling out making more of this style with these sleeves on it because, as I say, I love it so much. My only critique of these sleeves is that they are difficult to wear under cardigans. That's the only thing I don't like about them, but other than that, I am over the moon with this dress. I think it's absolutely gorgeous. I am so happy with how this one has turned out. In total, I've made 9 of this dress. I've actually made 2 of this one, as I say, for that comparison video. I made one in a cotton lawn and then one in a cotton poplin with no alterations to the neckline, which is the ones that are featured in the original sew along, and the original neckline is very, very plunging. We all know that I don't mind cleavage, but for me it was too much because I prefer to wear a balconette bra rather than a plunge bra. So with the neckline coming all the way down to the midriff pieces, it was very, very revealing and you could see my bra. Now I wear lacy bras, so it's not the end of the world and it is actually quite a pretty look, but I decided that I wanted to raise the neckline up. So I have shown you how to do that in the sew along that I did for this one. So I have put out a sew along for how to do these sleeves. Now I fully line these sleeves because I find that makes the keyhole opening neater and easier to do than with bias binding. I know that's not for everybody, but it is my preference, and as I've mentioned, this is an unlined dress according to the pattern. I hated how that came out, so I fully lined it, and again I show you how to do that in the sew along. So this is the maxi version with the puff and keyhole tie high sleeves. I also put the collar on this one. This one I've only raised up by 2 inches at the neckline. I like it, but it is still very cleavage-tastic, so I have actually raised it up by another inch. So if you want to add more length than I show you in this sew along, all you have to do is just adjust by an extra inch. That it's the same method works, and I did exactly the same method for this one as I did for this one. I just added 2 inches to this one, 3 inches to this one. I love how this one looks. I don't wear maxi dresses very often because I find them a little bit more formal. But I think with the kind of sleeves that I've got on this one, and if I wear this one with flat shoes, I think it looks very kind of like relaxed. I've put heels on with this one in the 12s. I think that looks like a little bit more sort of like going out appropriate. I mean, I wear dresses all the time. You know, I wear dresses that other people might be like, oh, that's a going out dress, and I'm just like, no, for me that's an everyday dress. But if you style them in a slightly different way with fancier jewelry and high heels or shinier heels or shinier flats, then I do think you can kind of turn them into sort of like evening going out dresses. I love this one. This fabric was from eBay. Unfortunately, I can't list to it anymore. They don't have any more of it, which I'm really sad about. I know Rachel's made an Eve dress out of this. I love that Eve dress. She wore it here on my birthday when she was here last year. It's absolutely gorgeous, but I'm so pleased that I used it for this long Maxi 7974. I think it's absolutely gorgeous and very summery dress. Again, these sleeves are a little bit annoying under cardigans, especially cardigans with tighter arms because of the knot in the little tie, but not enough that I don't wear it. So yeah, I love this version. Kind of going in order that I've made them. So the next ones that I made were the 2 versions from the sizing video. This is a viscose linen that I got from the textile centre, so it's a slightly heavier weight, but because it's a darker fabric, I decided to add the full length sleeves onto this one. Now the sleeves in the pattern are actually kind of bracelet or 6/8 sleeves. They kind of come to mid forearm. I decided to elongate them, and rather than just put elastic at the bottom, I've added a cuff and a continuous lap, and there is a tutorial for how to do that up here. I personally prefer that finish on this kind of a dress. I don't mind elasticated sleeves, and I have got them on quite a few of my other favourite dresses, but I just decided for this one that I wanted to give a continuous lap and a cuff a try because it is a button through dress. It's got the collar on it. This one again is only 2 inches raised at the neckline, so again this one is a little bit more cleavage-tastic than the later ones that I've made, but because of the colour of the fabric and the weight of the fabric, it still has a lot of drape and flow to it. But I do think this looks very much more autumn winter appropriate. And that's the thing, depending on the fabric and sleeve lengths that you choose and skirt lengths that you choose, this dress can be worn all year round in my opinion. I love this dress, but I've actually given it to Mum because it is much more her colour palette than it is mine. I'm a spring, so lots of bright vibrant colours, and Mum is an autumn, so warm. Both of those seasons are warm, and again, even if you have your colours done, you don't have to abide by it. You can wear whatever you like. But I have found that I do feel happier in brighter colours. So this one is living in Mum's wardrobe, but it still fits me and I can borrow it if I want to. Over the winter months, I may well do that. So yeah, very pleased with how this one turned out. And I really enjoyed making that video discussing the differences in the envelope size, the amount of wearing ease and design ease that are put into patterns, and fitting issues that can arise from following the envelope and doing exactly as the envelope says if you aren't aware of how much ease that gets added into the big 4 patterns. I mean, it's the big 5 now, isn't it, or something? I don't know, I can't remember, but you know what I mean. The Bocause, Butterick, Vogue, New Look, Simplicity, those patterns of the world do tend to have a lot of ease added into them. Really happy with how this one turned out. The other one got given to my sister-in-law, and I think my niece has it, but yeah, very pleased with this one. And for me, this is a very autumn winter appropriate dress because of the fabric choice, because of the colours, and also because of the long sleeves. The rest of these dresses I sewed up in June this year to take part in the So Fruity challenge, which is why all of them have fruits all over them. So this is a viscose from Rifle Paper Company. It's the Primavera and it's the orange coloured one. Now again, this dress is fully lined in viscose, an ivory viscose, because this is an ivory viscose as well. Stark white is not good for me, but ivory works very well. I fully lined this one because again, I love these dresses fully lined. I actually find them easier to sew, and this fabric was very, very sheer. So if I'd have tried to line it in the same fabric, you would have ended up with like shadows of oranges underneath of it. If I had left it completely unlined, especially at the skirt, it would have just been see-through and you would have been able to see the underwear or slip that I was wearing on that day. This one I have gone for the collar and the puff sleeves with the keyhole detail and the little tie detail and the midi length skirt, and I love this one. So I went for the midi length skirt for this one because I had done this one, which isn't exactly the same print, but it's a very similar color range. So I knew I had a maxi in this one, so I thought a midi in this one would work really well in my wardrobe. I absolutely love this. This is one of my most favorite things that I have sewn ever. I have worn this quite a few times. Again, the knots on the sleeves are a little bit annoying under cardigans, but again, not enough that it's going to prevent me from wearing it. So this is also a dress that I feel if you style it very casually, you could wear it out during the day, and then if you put on heels and some fancier jewelry, again, it would look really, really great for the evenings. One of my absolute favorite dresses that I have made this year and possibly ever. I love it, and I do wear this one a lot, and I'm so pleased that I finally got this fabric sewn up because I've been terrified of it for the longest time. It was expensive. We have another fruity fabric and another viscose, but this time it's a viscose linen. This is a fabric godmother fabric. So this is slightly heavier weight and it does have like a rougher texture to it. It is still soft, but it's not as soft as those very smooth viscose chalets are. I love this dress. I am very happy with how this has turned out. Again, the fabric was slightly sheer, so I have fully lined it. I decided to go for sleeveless in this case because the fabric is that little bit stiffer. It's not even stiffer, it's just thicker, and I decided that it would be too problematic to wear under a sleeved version of this under cardigans, and I do wear cardigans all of the time. So these kind of really fluid, lightweight, floaty fabrics are very easy to stuff into a cardigan, but this one, as I say, because it's got that little bit more body, I decided to go for the sleeveless option. This one again has the 3-inch rise from the midriff panel, so same as this one, so same neckline here, and I have gone for a collar on this one because I just really like the collar. I decided against the collar on this dress because I was going to put the embroidery motifs the whole way up, and I was worried the collar would have gotten in the way of that. Obviously I've not done that at the moment, but as I say, I might still do that in the future. So I do think adding in the little details or taking away the little details will give you different dresses, and then again obviously making them in different prints and different weights of fabric make the dress look different. This is an absolutely beautiful dress. I love how this one has turned out. This one for me I think is definitely more of a day dress. I could style this up and wear this out for sort of an evening out, but I think I have other ones here that I would prefer and go to, like this one here that I'm wearing, over this one for an evening just because of the fabric combination and print. But I love this dress, it's absolutely gorgeous. Have worn this, very happy with how this one has turned out. And then the final one that I still have in my wardrobe, because as I say I did make two to begin with that I have donated because they were both too low for me. This is a quilting cotton. I had 2.8 meters or 3 yards of this, and I have gone for the collar. I didn't have enough fabric to cut out the actual skirt from the pattern, so I basically did 2 rectangles of fabric which I have seamed together at the back, and I was really conserving fabric, so I've actually used the selvage as the finishing method for this seam. I can get away with that because the selvage wasn't puckering the fabric in any way, it was all lying nice and flat. It's literally 2 rectangles that have been gathered together with the other selvage turned under as the facing. That has been interfaced, and I did face my facing, which again I'll put a link to the tutorial up here. I have fully lined the bodice, and this time I lined as much as I could in the original fabric. I didn't have enough to cut this back panel out, so this is a viscose marocaine, and I did that just because I didn't want to have the white fabric peeking out for such a bright, vibrant print. I think this one has come out absolutely beautifully as well. I've not worn this one out yet, but I will. This one I have also gone for a sleeveless version because again, this is a quilting cotton, and quilting cottons I love making dresses from, but you do have to be strategic about what kind of dress you make because it doesn't have the same kind of drape as the more fluid fabrics. You do want to think about how a puff sleeve would look in this type of fabric. It would be very voluminous, very there. I mean, I also didn't have enough fabric to do sleeves for this one, but it's something to think about. So like the long sleeve in this fabric wouldn't have draped and hung as nicely as this one does, so sleeveless was the kind of like obvious option for me for this particular base of fabric. I really like the poof that you get from the skirt of this one. As it is stiffer and has more volume, it looks really, really lovely, and it looks like a very full skirt even though there is very minimal fabric in this skirt because again, as I say, I only had 3 yards of this to play with. I'm really pleased that I managed to get the collar out of this. I have had to cut the interior yoke with a seam down the center. The exterior yoke I managed to cut on the fold. It's one of those ones where I knew I wanted this fabric to be this dress and I was determined to make it work. And the very nice thing about this bodice is that it's going to work with a bunch of different skirts. So this is the only different skirt that I am showing you, and it's very similar to the original, but you could very easily add a circle skirt to this. You could add a A-line skirt to this. That would look really nice as well. There were lots of different options. You could do a double circle skirt. That would look amazing. It would be so floofy. That would look really good if you balanced it out with like the flutter sleeves as well. So yeah, thinking about the proportions of the type of skirt that you put onto the sleeves that you're going to balance it out with. When you find a bodice that you love, like this one, you can tweak it in loads and loads of different ways, adding on different sleeves and just making it up in different either weights of fabric or colours of fabric or styles of fabric. It gives you wildly different dresses, in my opinion. I mean, I get when you see them all next to each other, it's obvious that it's the same pattern, but they do to me look different enough that I am pleased that I have tried them all. So this pattern has a bodice that I love, clearly, and it already comes with a bunch of different styling options: the collar, the different sleeves, the different lengths of skirts. But you can take that further. You can change the sleeves to be different varieties of ones that you love. You can change the skirts. You can make them different lengths. You could do a mini skirt if that's your preference. You could do, as I say, double circle skirt. You could make this into an absolutely gorgeous evening gown, very Carolina Herrera-esque. She does a lot of sort of shirt dresses as well. So there's loads of ways that you can make a pattern work hard for you just by using different sleeve options, different skirt lengths, different skirt types, different fabric types, different prints, different colours, different finishing options. The world is your oyster. So another thing that I found is that I don't mind repeating patterns, because when I find one that I love and that I wear and I reach for frequently from the wardrobe, to me it makes sense to make multiples of that in different fabrics that I love, especially in precious fabrics that I have been hoarding for long periods of time because I wasn't sure what to do with them. So making up a dress that you've made multiples of, that you know you wear, seems like a safe option for me for the very precious fabrics that we all have in our stash. I know not everybody wants to repeat patterns. I know some people enjoy working through a pattern, getting it finished, having that finished item and then moving on to the next challenge. But for me, and the way that I like to get dressed, if I find that there is something in my wardrobe that I pick out repeatedly and want to wear, then it is a really, really good candidate for repeating in multiple different iterations. The world is your oyster. And as I say, patterns are expensive, so getting more than one use out of a pattern makes sense for me. If you've enjoyed this video, you might want to check out this pattern hacking video here.